The Buds beat Buffalo to win the Atlantic, which sets up the Battle of Ontario. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Want to sincerely thank FanDuel. I bet for Auston Matthews to get number 400 tonight, and it cashed. It came through. I bet for the Leafs to win on the money line. It came through. And Mitch Marner to pick up a point tonight to get to number 100. It came through. We were on Milestone watch all night, Dave, and the Leafs seemed to go bang, 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 and just kept checking off the boxes, but most importantly, got the win, clinched the division, and we now got the Battle of Ontario for sure.
Oh, it's coming as the Senators' Twitter or X account just put out. Giddy up.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a heck of a series, man. I'm excited for it. I don't think it's gonna be a cakewalk by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, Ottawa clearly has given the Leafs their run for the money this season. Toronto hasn't beaten Ottawa yet this year, but as we well know here in Toronto, what happens in the regular season doesn't mean squat, right, Dave? You got to get it done in the playoffs. And the same can be said for the Ottawa Senators. Just because they have all this success against Toronto in the regular season, do it in the playoffs. And Toronto's going to, they're favored over on FanDuel. They are favored already to win the division. I expect them, or to win the series. I do expect them to. They've now won the division. They're the clear, better team. But I still think that they're going to give them an absolute run for their money. But I mean, I still think we can't quite look past and look forward just yet. There'll be plenty of time for that, later on and in tomorrow's show and the next day. Because it was a pretty quality victory that they had against the Buffalo Sabres to clinch the division and to get it done. What did you make of tonight's game for the Maple Leafs?
Yeah, it was kind of a mixed bag for me in a lot of ways. Like I felt like, the Stars had great opportunities. That top line was just all over the Sabres tonight. Didn't care for how much Anthony Stolarz had to stand on his head at times in the game. Like both goaltenders were just unreal in this game.
Yeah.
And so like Stolarz, like some of the saves he made were just unbelievable. That guy is dialed in right now. And nice to see once again Steven Lorentz. Steven Lorentz and Scott Laughton have built some nice chemistry playing together. So it's nice to see certain things kind of develop. I'd like the third line in this game too. Like there were some good positives in this game, but there were times where it felt like the Leafs were not giving the Sabres the respect.
What do you mean by that? Yeah, what do you mean by that? What makes you say that?
It's just like they weren't putting forth the effort in the defensive zone at times. Like the Sabres had, a lot of open looks, easy looks. It felt like Toronto just wasn't, they just weren't sharp in their defensive matchups in a lot of ways. And, it just kind of felt like they were kind of, like there was one play that they brought up on the broadcast where the Sabres are in a 2-on-3 situation where they're outmanned. The Leafs have the numbers.
Yeah.
And it somehow led to a clear-cut scoring chance for the Sabres. Like things like that, you've got to lock in on defensively a bit. And now I get it. It's the Sabres.
No McCabe, no OEL, and both those guys expected to be back for the playoffs, and like those are two pretty significant pieces of the blue line, and it was kind of a ragtag bunch. Like Riley and Carlo were split up. You had, Philip Myers playing up. You got Mermis going ahead playing with Carlo. So it was a little bit of a mishmash defensive, defensive unit. But yes, absolutely, you do not want a guy like Anthony Stolarz in his final game, we assume, of the regular season to be under siege like he was against a non-playoff team like the Sabres. But he came through, man. Like, Stolarz was unbelievable, especially in the third period. Like, there was at least 4 or 5 grade A chances Buffalo had to score and break the shutout and just could not beat him. It's another shutout for Anthony Stolarz. And you look at his last 8 games, Dave, 8-0 with a .950 save percentage, a 137 goals against. He's got 3 shutouts in his last 8 games. You can't get any hotter than that going into a postseason. You got to feel great about where Anthony Stolarz' game is at right now.
Absolutely. Like when we look at his production lately, like they haven't been easy games, but he's just been, pretty much, he looks like what he did at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's using his size to his advantage, the athleticism that he's showing to make saves when it looks like he's not in the position to make a save. And when the Leafs defense is not at its best, he's providing that last line of defense. And so I would say this, out of all the things to be putting on the potential things to worry about checklist, Anthony Stolarz is definitely not one of them.
Yeah,
and I think he's shown it this final stretch of the season. He's been unbelievable.
He's been spectacular, and clear cut will be the starter game 1. I don't think anybody would argue that he doesn't deserve it based on what he's done down the stretch here. That's dating back to March 16th, so a full calendar month since Anthony Stolarz has lost a hockey game, and a .950 save percentage in that time is pretty remarkable. So Anthony Stolarz was an absolute stud, but obviously everyone super happy for Mitch Marner becoming just the 4th Maple Leaf to reach the 100-point mark. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll celebrate the 2 big milestones reached by Matthews, by Marner, and then we'll take a peek at the Battle of Ontario a little later on. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. I started using March just to help me track all the different credit cards and different accounts I have, just to keep it all one easy place to look at everything. The convenience of it, having it in one app, makes it so much easier. I don't have to log into different apps, go and compare one to the other. It tracks all the spending, and I can even set my long-term goals. And if you're managing money with a partner, it's smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you. Coming off a 4-0 win for the Toronto Maple Leafs over the Buffalo Sabres. It clinched the division. It also set a new record for Maple Leafs road wins in a season. And there was 2 other big individual milestones that were hit in this game as well, Dave. Let's talk about Mitch Marner's milestone, which he's been chasing down for a long time. Like, there's been a couple of years he's been kissing right up on 100 points. He's finished with 97 before, 99. Finally, in 24-25. The 2024-2025 season, he finally breaks his century mark and he gets his 100th point. It was a big goal too. Like, it's so funny because all night long he was trying to set up Matthews. It felt like they wanted to connect on that special goal and kind of share that moment as 100th point, 400th goal. and he tried setting him up all night long, and it just Matthews unable to beat Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and then eventually a really nice play by Matthews to kind of get the stick of Clifton. It allowed Nyes to get it back to Matthews, and a beautiful, seemingly no look pass, eyes in the back of his head, spots Marner right at the side of the cage, open net. He puts it in the back of the net, and all of a sudden the Leafs are celebrating. They got a 2-goal lead, and Marner hit point number 100 on the season. Just the 4th Maple Leaf in history to do it, the first winger in Leafs history to do it, considering that this is such a long storied franchise, over 100 years of hockey being played within this organization, and he's the first and only winger to accomplish that feat. I mean, that's just remarkable, Dave. This guy is such an absolute talent.
Yeah, considering how long the Leafs franchise has been around, it's kind of impressive that they've never had a 100-point score from a winger. Like, they've had a lot of decent players play for them, a lot of good wingers. But like, it truly just goes to show just how rare it is for this Leafs team to have a player of this caliber, right? Someone that's capable of getting to 100 points. Yeah, Matthews has done it twice. But like, that Matthews was the first player to get 100 points, and God knows how long since Gilmore, right? So
yeah,
like it's something that I think at times doesn't get appreciated enough.
Which is crazy. Like when you think about the fact that Sundin never hit 100 points is wild. I think that just shows how difficult it is to get to 100 points. Like, it's just not an easy feat to do. A, you got to stay healthy, but B, you just got to be locked in and dialed in for 82 games. Like, it took Marner 81 games to get there. 81 games to get there. And it was a beautiful play and a super meaningful goal as well. I mean, at that point, it was 1-0. Buffalo was kind of all over Toronto early in the third. And then they scored there. Really nice play. Little, all 3 of them kind of in on it. And it ends up being the insurance marker for the Maple Leafs. And then they scored. Matthews gets his empty net 400th goal moments later. And then Nicky Bobby with his career high 15th goal of the season. Really nice play by Nicky Bobby as well. But yeah, so you get 100 points out of Mitch Marner, and then goal number 400 for Auston Matthews, the fastest active player to get to 400 goals, which is crazy because we just saw an active player break the goal scoring record in Alex Ovechkin. He needed more games to get to 400. So, we had this conversation a week ago discussing whether or not Matthews can touch up on Ovi's record. Ultimately, health is going to be the biggest deterrent for him moving forward if he can get there or not. But that's hella impressive to get to 400 goals quicker than Ovi did, considering what Ovi has become and what Ovi has done. I mean, like, generational scoring threat, generational scoring talent. And he's now just 20 goals shy of tying Sundin. Sundin played over 900 games for the franchise. It's insane.
Yeah. It's crazy. 6 players have scored 400 goals in 630 games and fewer. Matthews lead 628. Yari Curry, Brett Hall, Mario Lemieux, Mike Bossy, Wayne Gretzky.
Those guys good?
I think they're pretty good.
I've heard some of those names. I've heard some of them.
Yep, you may have heard a few of them. Like, since he's come into this league, there is no one can argue there has been no better goal scorer. Like, there hasn't.
It's statistical fact. So,
right, like, he was the first. He was close to breaking, like, 1 goal away from 70 last year. Like, there's not, like, there are players who wish they could even hit 40, right? Players that just are able to get to 50. And this guy over the last few years has gotten over 60, almost to 70. And I know, this year, not in that realm, but it was injury related, right? Yeah. That's kind of where I'm hoping that, he will definitely break. Obviously, he will break the Leafs goal scoring record.
We'll do it next year. Like, he might do it by Christmas of next year.
Yeah, like, that's gonna be something to celebrate. And to me, it's like, what more do it all really depends on how much more he plays when it comes to where he will land on the all-time list. But you just gotta, again, when you talk about, okay, Matthews has done this, Marner has done this. The reason why I think the Leafs just haven't had that many players being able to do this, because it's the collection of talent. Like, they've had good player Matt Sundin, but Matt Sundin did not have the caliber of players really playing with him throughout his entire Leafs career. Yeah, maybe when he had first with the Leafs and he was a younger player and things like that. But this is why this team, this whole era with the Matthews Marner era, has really been something different, because you've got multiple players that are kind of pushing it forward. And I think that's what makes this this run, and I think this is why it's brought some optimism potentially, hopefully for more to come. And just one thing we're left waiting to see.
Well, yeah, one thing is left, and the crazy part is that the fact that these two are playing at the same time, I think is also uh, uh amazing, and you could throw William Nylander into that mix as well. Like, these guys could potentially be three of the top 10 Leafs of all time when all said and done, and they're all playing together in the same era. But to your point, it has not come with any playoff success, any whatsoever. They've won one round together. They've made the playoffs every single year that those three have been in the league and been with this team. They have made the postseason. They have won one round since then. This year, they will look to do that, and they will look to win multiple rounds. And the first team they'll have to get through is the Ottawa Senators. The Battle of Ontario is officially upon us, Dave. Let's take one more quick break. We'll come back and we'll kind of get our thoughts on the upcoming Battle of Ontario and what else was cooking in the NHL tonight, because there was a lot of things that got sorted and settled when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, which are coming quick. Just a few more days till we drop the puck and the real party starts. So we'll get to that more on the other side. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NHL playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and you place a first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I just love how FanDuel is making it easier, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into the player props. From goals to shot blocks to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite players. Plus, after the game drops the puck, you can even combine live prop bets into same game parlays for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. It is free and available wherever you get your podcast, and also up on YouTube. And we now know what it's going to look like in the postseason. We know where the Maple Leafs have landed. That's number one in the Atlantic Division, the first division crown for the Maple Leafs since the year 2000, and just the third division crown since they won the last Stanley Cup. Isn't that insane? This is just the third time. And the second time was technically the Canadian division. So if you even want to count that, just the third time, including the Canadian division, that they've won the title of the division champs since 1967 when they last won a Stanley Cup. Unreal.
It's something that it gives us different aura, because I was not really old enough to experience the first division title in my Leafs time, and yeah, the Canadian division one, that kind of felt like the closest that when you watch that team, is like the path looked as good as it was never going to look as good as it did that year.
Right.
Obviously, we were wrong about that one. But again, it's just the idea that now you know for a fact that you have the home ice advantage for the next, as the 2 rounds minimum, right? if you go make it past the first round, because they've rarely had home ice in the playoffs. It's just kind of just been a thing for this team, and so it's all kind of feeling different. I think the most important one, you miss out on the potential playing Tampa and Florida round one. I would not want to play any of those teams especially Florida in the first round with the way that they played the Leafs this year. So let those two teams beat up on each other. I will be watching every game of that Florida Tampa series with a smirk on my face, because I'm hoping that the two teams are going to absolutely kill each other in that series.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I think that it's gonna be a great series, man. Like that one, and then the Battle of Ontario. Like you got the battle between the Kachuk brothers, right? And then now you've got the Battle of Ontario. So the Atlantic Division matchups or the Eastern Conference matchups are good. Or yeah, Atlantic Division are going to be insane. Both of those games. But you know what's really different? I think when you look at what the Maple Leafs have done this year comparatively to really any other year, Dave. Look at their record against non-playoff teams. How often have we talked about the Leafs losing to teams below 500 and giving up those points to those terrible, terrible teams at the bottom of the conference and the bottom of the division, and on the Western side, losing, to the Anaheims, losing to Boston all the time, or to the Brewers or the Sabres all the time, losing to Montreal, right? Like, how often do we talk about that? Losing to the Arizona Coyotes. That's not how things went this year, Dave. They actually, when you look at all of let me make sure I have this correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So all 16 non-playoff teams this year, Dave. All 16 non-playoff teams. How many of them do you think they had a winning record against 13 of the 16 teams? Sorry. Yeah, 13 of the 16 teams they had a winning record against. They swept 6 of them.
Wow.
Anaheim, Buffalo, Chicago, Philly, Seattle, and Utah. They didn't give up any points to those teams. They picked up and collected all the points they needed to against those squads. And to me, that's a big difference, a massive difference between this year and years past. They pissed away too many easy points that they should have had, wins that they should have had, and just didn't for whatever reason. This year, they made sure they went into Buffalo and took all those games. They made sure that they went into Philly and beat them, Chicago, Anaheim, Seattle. Like, these are teams that they should be beating, and they were finally doing that this year. And when you look at how things are going to shake out, they're only going to finish 2 points up on Tampa. They needed every single one of those wins, Dave. Every single one of those wins. And that's how thin the margins are. And that's the difference between them having to finish second place or even third place and having to go out on the road and being the road team for a 7-game series, as opposed to this year getting the job done and finishing at top of the division. That's what good teams do. And to me, that was the biggest difference this season. And tonight was a perfect example of that. You go into Buffalo, you have a chance to finish the job, right? Step number 1 of the season, win the division. Right? You can't win the cup in the regular season, but you can win your division. And that's exactly what they did. But they had to go in and get the job done against Buffalo. And not only did they get the job done, they beat them handily 4-0. You got Marner his milestone point. You got Matthews his goal, and everything was all roses. And they got it done when they had to.
It's also just the mindset, right? Not letting yourself, when teams like this go up against the Leafs, usually they want to send a message, and usually it catches the Leafs off guard because they've never really had the right mindset sometimes in these matchups. So I think that's a bit of a Craig Berube effect, right? You treat these opponents with respect, but it's also, you don't ever want to have those either doubts or just that ability to say, when things are going to get a little tough, this team's going to shut down, right? And I think that's something that's been notable with Berube this year, is that games like this mean a lot more to the Leafs because it makes their jobs a whole lot easier when they are able to win these matchups, rather than, saying, this isn't one that we're going to really concern ourselves with, because it's not a big time matchup for us. We want to show how we are against the good teams rather than against a team like Buffalo who are, not on our level.
Right. Right. So again, a massive, massive development for the Leafs this year, and it's a big reason as to why they were able to win the division. And now they'll play the Ottawa Senators instead of one of the Florida teams. So congratulations! Now, because you did what you had to do all year, you picked up more points than anyone else in the division because you beat the teams you had to. You get the better opponent. You get the easier opponent on paper. Granted, on paper, it's still a great team in Ottawa, and it's going to be a good series. But I tell you what, I'm a lot happier that the Leafs are playing Ottawa as opposed to Florida or Tampa right now, aren't you?
Very much so. And yes, again, I understand that the Senators will feel as uber confident in themselves because they beat the Leafs in every game this year. We already got our boys at the Locked On Sens pointing out how they beat the Leafs in every game this year and how the advantage in the goals, the goal differential in that series too. Totally get that. But as we noted in the beginning, regular season is one thing, playoffs is something totally different. And I'll say this, and I give, I was watching a Kalbukowskis video today. Like, there is a generation of Leafs fans that have never witnessed a Battle of Ontario in the playoffs. Like, we've talked about the Battle of Ontario meaning, like, just how they've never seen it in that playoff. I mean, like, we're talking like 2004, guys.
Yeah.
We're talking Ed Belfour was the goaltender.
Yeah.
The game wasn't broadcasted in HD. Okay, like the fans, these fans, younger fans who have never seen this are going to see why this rivalry was dubbed the Battle of Ontario. It wasn't about what happens in the regular season or Ridley Gregg going after Morgan Riley because of a slap, or Morgan Riley going after Ridley Gregg in a slap shot.
But like Ridley Gregg and Max Domi are going to be the two pestiest people in this matchup. It's gonna be great. Like, I'm gonna look on FanDuel later tonight. If there is a wager on penalty minutes for Max Domi, I'm taking the over because that guy's getting into a scrap game 1,000%. I would not be surprised if it's Ridley Gregg.
I know Brady Tkachuk's dealing with an injury, but like if he's good to go game 1, which I doubt it's going to take a lot for Brady Tkachuk to not be in that game 1. I'm going to be putting some money on Brady Tkachuk, looking for some way to have a stamp on that game 1, because we saw it when Canada and the U.S. went up against each other.
Yes.
So
100%.
If there's somebody that, like, if you want to put down another wager, like Brady Tkachuk is going to be another guy that's going to potentially be one of those as well. So that's it's just the animosity. Like, these two teams understand just how much emotion is going to be involved in this series. Now, this is maybe where the Leafs can potentially have an advantage because there has been that stuff before. And hopefully this team has learned from its playoff past, namely at times against Boston where, last year, like, these two teams decided it was more important to get the physical advantage rather than worrying about the scoreboard, right?
Yeah. I think that Ottawa's more likely to get themselves in trouble like that.
Yeah.
Because they've never been there. They've never been to the postseason. And like you saw with Brady Tkachuk, right? Like, yes, it was great what happened with Canada, US, but that's like emotions getting the best of you and wanting to put on a show and put on a show for the world. He's going to want to do the exact same thing. It wouldn't surprise me if early in the series, early in game 1, Ottawa Senators, they're chasing hits. And when you chase hits, good things don't usually happen. Like, I'll always remember, Jake McCabe, first time he was in the playoffs, he didn't have a good playoff run for the Maple Leafs when he first got here because he was chasing hits. That series against Florida, chasing hits, put himself out of position, and Florida scored, multiple times off the rush because McCabe was out of position. Now he's playing a lot better now. He doesn't have, the same juice. He doesn't want to do all those things because he's played in the postseason. That's old hat for him now. not going to be the case for a lot of the guys over there in Ottawa, and I think it could come back to bite them pretty early on too, especially with the Leafs power play playing well, at this point. And I think the Sens PK is like 77% or 76%. It's really not that good. So, that's one thing that I'll be taking a look at early in the series, why I think Toronto might have an advantage the first couple of games. Because we always see refs try and set the tone early, right? Set the standard. So they'll be making some calls. And if Ottawa gets undisciplined because they can't keep their pee cool, as my old coach used to say. Well, it could come back to bite them in the first couple of games, but we'll see. I'm excited for it, man, though, and not to pat myself on the back, but that was my bold prediction at the start of the season. If we roll the tape back, Dave, to the first day of the season, we said, "What's the bold prediction on the year?" I said, "Leafs, Sens." I think that's what we get for round one, and here we are, 81 games. There's still another game to go, I guess, technically. But we're gearing up and getting ready for it. And I am very excited. I think we're going to try and connect with the Locked On Sens guys over the next couple of days and try and get a crossover podcast preview of the series up. Might be a weekend special or maybe late Friday night. Might try and get that up for you people listening and wanting that. So that content definitely to come, as we'll definitely do a preview show as well with just Dave and I. But the playoffs are coming, brother, and the Maple Leafs are going in style. They're going with a division crown on top of their heads, and they get to play the Ottawa Senators. Super stoked for it. That's going to do it for us here today on the show. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the podcast. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti. Follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.